And some of the things that I want to maybe clarify and you could explain is some of the different types of pain. We so often just throw out there, I have pain, or I have acute pain, or I have chronic pain. But there really is a lot more to classifying pain. Of how would you classify somebody, for example, that is dealing with pain that is emotionally sensitized, or that is catastrophized, or something that is undermined, like the people that have severe injuries and do not have the sense of pain. They override it. Maybe they're an athlete, maybe they're military, but what are some of the categories for this audience? And again, just to reiterate, we have a nice mixture of Pilates teachers and physical therapists that join the webinar that will be listening. So,
I mean, Brent, the easy answer is we have a tendency in medicine to make everything overcomplicated. I am very happy to say that today, in June 2022, as we're doing this webinar, I think the pain world is getting its act together in a sense, at least in the conservative realm. We identify 3 types of pain, and I think there's incredible research to back this. Yes, you can break them down into subcategories, but we believe there are 3 types of pain based on some of the underlying biology, psychology, physiology, etc. Nociceptive dominant pain, peripheral neuropathic, and centrally sensitized or nociplastic. If you understand the biology of how a human being experiences pain, those are 3 very different kinds of patients. We examine them different and we treat them completely different. One of the reasons we struggle so much in medicine is we just say somebody has pain. But the mechanisms are completely different. So just to put it in perspective, in the physical therapy world, we have now looked at the data. 55% of people that walk into PT clinics every day off the street sit in the nociceptive bucket. What do we mean by that? Those are the people whose pain experience is driven by joints, muscles, tendon, anything that's innervated. If I want to put it in another vernacular, it's the mundane, boring, everyday patients. They sprain their ankle, they have a knee replacement, they have very simple, non-complicated back pain, neck pain, knee pain, shoulder pain. That's our bread and butter. That's what's putting our kids through college. That should not put a lot of stress in your system. Those are the things that we are so well trained in. So check the box, be good.
And that's the thing is that is normal and that's expected. And we learn to respect it. We learn to decrease it as we heal. And that's the very normal process of an injury, of a legitimate cut, surgery, sprain, etc.
They go through the normal phase of healing. The nervous system does ramp up to protect a little bit, but then calms beautifully down in time of the healing phases. By the way, just take it one step further. In my world, the question is, do we teach these people more about pain? And the answer is not really. If a high school volleyball player walked in with an ankle sprain, grade 1 ankle sprain, and I spend most of my time teaching her about pain and don't do balance, proprioception, strength, range of motion, whatever, I have failed this young girl and her parents. The second bucket is peripheral neuropathic. And peripheral neuropathic is the ones where the peripheral nervous system is the main driver. So now we're talking about anything that's distal to the dorsal horn. This is going to be your lumbar radiculopathy, cervical radiculopathy, your cubital tunnels, carpal tunnel syndromes. Now the nervous system, which you and I were taught is a conduit, if you will, becomes actually a driver of the pain state. The good news is we're very good at these. We can pick it up quite easily. If you have any rudimentary understanding of something like neurodynamics, of a straight leg raise, an upper limb neurodynamic test, pressure algometry, most clinicians should be able to identify it, treat it effectively, and be okay. That's about 25% of our patients, by the way, Brent. So if you do the math real quick, that's 80% of our patients should sit in these, what we would consider your day-to-day, shouldn't be too hard to treat. Yeah. It's that last bucket that makes our lives very difficult. This is the reason we struggle, and that is what we call nociplastic or central sensitization is what we would often refer to it. In this case, the central nervous system, and now we're tying heavy into the emotional aspects, the psychosocial aspects, etc., which driving the pain. The central nervous system has been bombarded with information. It now upregulates and is the main driver. The ankle is better, the knee is better. These patients need to be examined completely different. and we need to treat them completely different. That's about 1 in 5 patients. And, the frustration for me often is therapists think of, chronic pain as such a big deal and it's so hard. It only affects really 1 in 5 in what comes in our clinic. And if you have the necessary tools to evaluate them, treat them. And by the way, these patients in the last bucket, and we literally teach our students buckets, there's 3 buckets, nociceptive, peripheral neuropathic, and central. And the people that sit in the last bucket are the ones that need more of the biopsychosocial, the broader spectrum treatments. They need cognitive therapy. They need movement-based therapy. We need to be careful of locus of control, make them a dependent, those kind of. So it's all these really cool pain stuff works for that last bucket really, really well. But Brent, I look at myself saying, well, I only have so many years probably that I'm going to be actively involved. But my goal is if I can one day get to that next phase of my life, sitting in a nursing home next to you, and we laugh about what we did here, I can look back and I have trained the vast majority of people that have crossed my path to understand there are 3 types of pain. We treat it, we examine them completely different, and we treat them different. I've made a difference. The cool thing is, and I'll stop here, the original research was done in 2012 by Keith Smart. In the last 2 years, there's been an enormous amount of research that has now validated that model that is 10 years old. And this is people like Paul Hodges has come on board and said, this stuff is really amazing. And so easy answer today, there's 3 kinds of pain: nociceptive dominant, peripheral neuropathic, central. We examine them different and we treat them very different.